I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsor, Viatris, for their support. Christopher Cornejo is an amazing 32-year-old. He is relatively new to the cystic fibrosis community, just being diagnosed 3 years ago. Obviously, he was diagnosed as an adult. He was diagnosed before there was newborn screening because he was born in 1993. And he shares all his CF experiences and what it is like to be diagnosed as an adult. And he is very involved in the CF community. He's been recognized by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation as one of Southern California's finest. And it's an honor that celebrates leadership, dedication, and community involvement. And what makes his story especially compelling is his perspective, and his perspective as his career in film continues to grow. You're going to want to hear about this. It's incredible. He's going to tell us his story about this movie, the first movie that he was involved in, which you will know right away. I'm so glad he's here to talk with us. So we're going to start at the beginning with Christopher. And welcome. We're excited to talk with you, Christopher, about everything cystic fibrosis and some not CF things. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys having me. It was awesome.
Tell us your CF story of why there was a late diagnosis and how you got into the CF community.
For sure. Yeah. Like we said, I was a late diagnosis. I think it was about 3 years ago, actually, almost to the day. It was 3 years ago in March. And I was 29. And so, yeah, for me, it was really late. Obviously, a lot of kids now are getting diagnosed early, or I think they screen it now. So I wasn't screened. I was born in 93, so it wasn't part of the newborn screening. But yeah, so I sort of grew up with asthma, tons of sinus issues, coughing, all that stuff. But we didn't really know why. We just kind of attributed it to, sinus problems. Kids get asthma. I kind of grew out of the asthma,
Right.
thankfully. But still, sinus issues always persisted. I've had a few sinus surgeries. And that was just really all part of my life, like growing up. It was always doctors and stuff like that, ENTs. But really nothing ever, it was just sort of part of it. Never really attributed to anything else growing up. But yeah, it was just always in the doctors. But
Are you the firstborn?
I am the second born, but unfortunately my parents lost their firstborn to a heart issue. But now that we know everything, we think that probably could have been a CF issue too, because there was some lung stuff as well. But I am the firstborn boy going through this. So yeah, I hit 18, fast forward, a bunch of years, and I had some liver enzyme issues where my enzymes in my liver were really high. It was just after high school. So again, I'm from Atlanta. We were in the Emory Health System in Piedmont, and we were also just, lots of doctors over there too. But again, this was something, obviously at 18, I wasn't really drinking. I wasn't overweight. I was very slender. I was actually very pretty underweight actually. I was small in high school. But in going into college, again, we didn't really know why I had this issue, because usually you attribute liver issues to people who drink a lot or people who, eat poorly, people who are overweight. It wasn't really any of those boxes, and the doctors really never, they were great. They did the best they could, but they never really dove further into that. Really, it was just okay, you have these issues. We're just gonna try to why you take your ultrasounds, you take your MRIs, and you just kind of monitor them going into college. And so we kept doing that. 10 years later, still doing the same thing. Nothing really changed. So I moved out to LA for my job, which was awesome. But we were, 2023. I was celebrating. And we can talk about this later when we do the job stuff. But I was
Mm-hmm.
celebrating my Oscar win, or not all of our Oscar wins, really, for Avatar 2, The Way of Water. We were at the USC Science Center, and I just felt like this horrible pain in my stomach. It was just like I was bloated. I like couldn't fit in my suit that I was gonna wear. I was like very confused. I was like, I did not gain 20 pounds within the last week
Right.
or so. Go to the my primary doctor the next day, and thankfully she was like, "Hey, Chris, like you need to go to the emergency room. Like you probably have some fluid from your liver in your stomach, which is like what's causing this bloating." It looked like I was pregnant. Like it was really like just this huge bulge here, which was
Wow.
not. And God bless my sister. Like she was the best. She like drove me. It was in LA, and like it doesn't rain here a lot, but for that week it decided like monsoon. So she drove me to Santa Monica, and we went to UCLA, and I was just kind of in the emergency room for a while. My dad thankfully flew out here, which was great, from Atlanta. But yeah, it was a scary time because I didn't really know what was going on, and my stomach hurt. I felt horrible, weak. Eventually, they did MRI and or like a CT scan, and they found that I had some like scarring on my lungs, and they're like, "Hey, let's look into this further." And they thankfully they ended up doing so. That's kind of how they diagnosed the CF because then they passed it on to UCLA CF team, and then kind of the rest is history. Like I've just been sort of the last 3 years like managing these symptoms. I mean, UCLA is incredible. Like all my doctors there are really good. So yeah, we've been just sort of managing all of this.
So you're 28, right? And they figure it out. Like, what are your first thoughts?
I yeah. So my first thought was I just want to go back to watching March Madness because it was March and I just wanted to watch my bracket bust. But I don't know. I was like just kind of a blur for me. I mean, like I said, like the doctor stuff was pretty common. Like I know for a lot of like people my age, like I had friends in college, like, oh, dude, I haven't been in the doctor in 4 years, and I'm like, that's just not part of my lexicon. Like it's just like I go to the doctor all the time growing up, and that was just part of my life. So for me, yeah, I was like pretty. I wouldn't say upset, but I was like more annoyed that I just had to deal with more stuff. And obviously, like I said at the beginning, my family isn't strangers to doctors. My parents lost my first sibling. I didn't know her, but and then my youngest sister, has a brain tumor that's benign,
Gosh.
thankfully. So that's another thing that we're managing. So we have a couple of things. So we're no strangers to the medical world. But yeah, it's just another thing. And I said in my like when I was telling all my friends, like in my Facebook post, when I first got diagnosed, I was like, not a lot is going to change for me. It's just I got to get poked by doctors more and take some more pills than I'd like to. But yeah, I think it's just it was managing everything was kind of a whirlwind for me.
And I know everyone wants to hear about what Avatar, and we are
Yeah,
going to get
that's
there.
the fun part, right?
But that is the fun part. I mean, the
Yes,
whole thing is honestly, it's
yes,
fun in a different way, and but I mean, what did your parents say? What were they thinking? Because I always talk to people who are, if they're diagnosed older, and you don't have all that time when you're little to like process it and let it sink in. And even
yeah,
as a parent, you're slowly getting there, and it's each phase of your child's life. But this is like you're
yeah,
28. You've actually outlived your life expectancy
mm-hmm,
at that point. So I
100%.
just wonder kind of, and your family had already been through so much trauma with your sister who had died.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening then with your parents?
I think with them, because I talked about them with this a lot. I think we were glad that I was diagnosed, obviously, because it's like kind of a puzzle that comes together. Like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is why Christopher had all these issues. This is why we couldn't figure out what the liver stuff was going on, the sinus issues. It all sort of got figured out. So that was also a relief for us, for sure. But I think for them, again, like a whirlwind. You hear the word cystic fibrosis, and you automatically think, oh, this is really bad. This is a death sentence. But thankfully, like with all the advance in like technology and all the stuff the CF Foundation has done, it's much different outcome for people now. So I remember the first, like I had them both come in, or my mom was on Zoom, No, they were both here. They both came to LA for my first CF appointment. And that appointment was like literally like 5 to 6 hours long because I had to see everyone on the team. You know, I saw my nutritionist, I saw both doctors, I saw, social workers, respiratory therapists, all that stuff. And that was like an hour each with each person because I got to know them. They kind of told me what the deal was. And I remember I had to do, even before then, I had to do like all the sweat tests and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was I just remember my head hurting after that initial appointment, just because it was just like so much information. I'm like, how is my life going to change? But in the end, like I'm glad it happened because I feel like it's a night and day difference. And I can send you these pictures, Laura, like from Avatar 2, when we did the premiere, and then from when we
Uh-huh.
did it for Avatar 3 in last December. It's a night and day difference. Like my face has so much more color, my hair is thicker. I gained 30 pounds of weight
Wow.
and muscle. So it's just like such a blessing that I'm able, and I feel so much better. Like with the Creon, like the enzymes and stuff. Like I felt horrible like every time I ate growing up. I just thought that I thought I just had stomach issues again. We didn't know why I had
Right.
stomach issues, and that was sort of actually how we found the liver stuff. Is I went to the GI doctor first, and so I think my life, like obviously, yes, having CF isn't fun. It's a lot of doctor's appointments. It's a lot of like, research and all that stuff. But, if I have to have it and my life improved as much as it did with all the, science and medication and all that stuff, I would take it because it's like, it's a night and day difference for me right now.
That is so amazing. And did it change with your friends? Were you open and talking to them? And then how did they feel?
Yeah, yeah, that's always, I'm lucky my sister and I can sort of talk about this because her with her brain tumor and me with the CF, we always sort of like when we meet new friends like in LA because we've made new friends here, and obviously all of our old friends from school and college and stuff. We kind of like talk about how to like go about it. And I think the best thing we came up with is like you just got to be open with them and you got to tell them. And I told them pretty soon after I got diagnosed. Like I individually texted most of them, and then I put like a big Facebook post out too. And it was pretty easy. I didn't really have any issues with it. They were all very like supportive, and like there was no difference in treatment and stuff. And they were all super happy that I found answers with all that. And even with like now, like I'm dating now, so it's like it's the same thing. You gotta be open like with it. It's like you can't really hide. Like I went on a date the other week and we went to dinner. You can't really hide like taking your Creon before you eat. And so like we
Right.
just talked about it, and you just got to be open about it. And if it scares them off, then they're not the right person. If it doesn't, then they're cool. So I really haven't really with friends on dates. I really hadn't had any issues. Um, I really haven't had any issues with it. It's people are pretty accepting of it. My best friend, like he lives here now in Irvine, and he immediately like looked it up afterwards, and he like kind of educated himself. And so a lot of my friends did that too. Like they definitely like, and I obviously they talk to me about it too, because like when you look up CF online, it's not like great. It's pretty like it's less bad now, but I'd say like even like 3 years ago, it was like tough because there's a lot of, oh, what's the life expectancy? Are they going to live normal
Right.
life? But now like they're pretty cool with it, and a lot of them have done their research, which obviously I really appreciate. It's cool that they like are able to know about it, and it's because it's not a common disease. Um, and so, yeah, I'm super
Right.
happy that they do that. And so I've just been open with people, and I think I found it pretty easy.
I think it's wonderful. And now your friends are just like, oh, they're just going with it, right?
100%. Yeah.
And you've educated them, and I think that's pretty cool. And I always say, like, if we had to be in a disease community, CF is a good one
Yeah, for sure.
because everybody's so close, and
Yes.
so it is a really good community.
I found that too, because like so I have a personal trainer, and he also has CF. But we do it remotely. He's from Ireland or Northern Ireland.
Who is he? Is
His
it?
name's
It's not
Ben.
Mark,
Ben,
is it? Oh, Ben
no, it's Ben
Mudge.
Mudge. Yes, yes, you probably know
Yeah.
him. He's the man.
Yeah.
He's my
I
favorite
mean, I
guy
know
ever.
him from social media, but
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah, he's the best. So I'm in his group, and we do. He builds a whole program for me. He like helps me with diets and nutrition and stuff. Because I told him like when I started seeing him last year, I was like, hey, dude, like I just want to gain like muscle and stuff. And we both know it's hard as people with CF because like that's just what our bodies do. So he's helped me a lot, but there's a lot of really cool people in that group, and there's like 3 or 4 of us that also have CF, so it's just super cool to to see all of us like grow and, learn how to, lift weights and diet and exercise. It's cool. So yeah, everyone in that group is super cool. And so I'm super proud. Like this community is just awesome.
And don't you feel so much better? I know when my girls were told, they were probably 10 when we had somebody who had CF, and he said, you've got to just make sure they always work out. And so
Yes.
we've
Yes.
always had them involved in sports and
You
everything.
have
And
to.
now one of them weight lifts every day, and the other one is like rides her bike everywhere. And so they
Right.
are very active, but night and day difference.
Night and day. And yeah, I'm so thankful to be in Southern California, LA area, just because it's such an active place. Like I play beach volleyball every Sunday, try to play during the week. Golf is year round for me. So it's just I'm in such a nice place to where it's easy to, exercise. And it's so important. Obviously, my dad always says, because I in college, like I was no stranger to sports. Like growing up, I did basketball. I wasn't very good at it, but I did basketball. I did lacrosse in high school. And then in college, I did rowing, which I really loved. That was sort of, my doctors even said like that definitely like saved your life because it's such a long,
Wow.
intensive exercise that I'm super thankful that I did. And I'm super thankful my dad always pushed sports on us just because like it probably made the difference in me like living how I did. Because I didn't really have like I never really felt like I had CF issues, like the traditional lung issues. I know I had like tons of other stuff, but I never really felt like I was struggling like with breathing or in sports and stuff. So I'm super thankful I grew up doing that. And I'm super thankful that I'm able to continue it now.
So your parents didn't move to California then?
No, they're still in Atlanta. So my sister and I are both out here, and then my other sister is in New York City. So there's three of us
Okay.
total. Yeah.
And you gave me permission to say how we met. So when you applied to the Bonnell Foundation for financial assistance, because bills are crazy and copays are insane and all of that, and anybody that needs it should apply. And then you did this beautiful thank you video for us. And we appreciate that because when donors see that we've helped someone, it really helps us in fundraising. So thanks again for that. But
Yeah. Thank you
you
guys.
just, yeah, you're welcome. But you happened to mention that you were part of Avatar. And then that's when I reached out, like, what? Because it's such a beautiful thing to be able to share different forms of success that people with CF are having,
Sure.
whatever that success is. A success could just be getting a diagnosis, whatever it is. But I was so excited to learn. And so now if you want to tell us, like, was it you were the technical director, correct, for Avatar
Yes.
2 and 3?
Hmm.
Did you know that's what you wanted to do and that's why you moved to LA?
Definitely. Yeah. So I grew up like I love video games. I have a lot of them. Big Nintendo guy growing up. So that was sort of always like on my radar. And going into college at Clemson, I studied computer science. So I was sort of always in like the computer, and I love video editing. So I was sort of like video games, movies. I love that. Yeah. So I did computer science for 4 years at Clemson, and then I did a master's program there as well called digital production arts. So that was sort of a combination of animation and sort of like technical skills. So it was like kind of using both sides of the brain, a little art, little tech.
Cool.
And so that's kind of what I always wanted to do. I didn't know I would end up at Avatar. And that was really honestly like a lot of jobs just by luck. I got to talk to them at a job fair. I just happened to see them at a random table, which was crazy. And I just talked to them. And thankfully, my friend, she was like, hey, I'm talking to Avatar people. I was like, do you want to come talk to them with me? I was like, yes, I would love to. So we both talked to them. We both got the job, which was awesome. And then I sort of just, it was like a very entry level job for me. Like, I didn't start out as a technical director because that's pretty like high up. Like you have to kind of work to your way to that. It's hard to just come in as one. So I started a very
Hmm.
entry level position in 2019. I moved out here right before COVID. And yeah, so that was cool. But yeah, I had about 6 months before the everything shut down. But luckily, like moving out here was super cool. And yeah, it was really just something I always wanted to do. My dad, again, and both my parents really pushed for me to do it. And I think I don't regret it at all. It was one of the best experience because it was about 6 years long. And I think
Wow.
that's very uncommon, I would say, in Hollywood. Like that doesn't happen a lot because usually it's like you're in, month here, 2 months here, 6 months here, and then you move on to a different gig. So since having 6 years on one project, everyone always says this is like super, like it's an outlier. But yeah, so I just kind of worked my way up to the technical director position, and yeah, for the last 6 years, I was just on both films, and I couldn't be happier. It was such a great experience.
So, of course, we want some inside stories, whatever
Yeah,
you
of
you can
course.
tell. But so, tell us exactly what you were doing, and then how people would know that it was your work when they watch the movie.
Yeah, a technical director, like a TD, is for short, is kind of a you're kind of like the safety net, I think, for a lot of things. Like it's very much you have to understand the art stuff, obviously, but you also have to understand like the more technical stuff as well. So I always tell people when they ask me, like without getting too much into the weeds, it's like you're kind of the middleman for at least what I did. You're kind of the middleman in between the coders who are making the tools, the software development people, and the artists who are, making all the models and textures for the characters and stuff. And so it was my job really because it was such a complicated production. It was my job to make the lives of everybody involved easier by helping, talking to the artist, seeing if they needed certain things built, and then going to the software people who were coding and talking to them and making sure that they were able to do it. Just kind of going back and forth. And so not only that, I was very hands on with and like I said, it was a super complex production. I was very hands on with anything that ever broke. So if there was a character, and I always like to use this example, say like, so they all wear different clothes, right? So say like Jake, for example, who's the main character, one of his clothes maybe was like going through his body or something and it looked strange, they would be like, "Hey, Chris, can you look at this costume piece for Jake? It's kind of like protruding his chest and it's not correct." So I would do things like, "We'll fix that," or if textures looked weird to where they were maybe not showing up, they were like gray and it should have been like a piece of wood. It was like gray and it wasn't like it's normal brown. It was something like that. I would have to go in and fix that. Or if lighting was off, I would help with that. So yeah, you wore a lot of hats as a TD, and I love my whole TD crew on at Lightstorm. They were all amazing. It was just a lot of like collaboration with many different departments. So if you wanted to like see, I think one of my favorite things I helped with during movie two, and it kind of stuck around into movie three, there was the flying creatures that they ride on, the Ecrons is what they call them. There was one point where James Cameron wanted them to have like a transparent wings. So we worked pretty hard to get like that to work. So if you look on the final movie, you'll see like the flying creatures. You can check their wings out. They have like these transparent, almost butterfly wings. So that was something I like to point out. A lot of the whales I helped on as well with their costumes. My costume team is amazing, and they're all very very talented. So without them, I wouldn't be able to do it. But they were like they have a lot of different costumes, like rings and banners and stuff. So we really like did a lot of stuff like that.
That sounds so incredible and so fun to like be a part of that.
It was
Um,
cool. Yeah.
that's so cool. And I like how you called him Jim. Well, James, because everybody knows him
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
James
There's,
Cameron, but I'm
yeah,
sure,
we're all
yeah,
used to that.
that's so funny. And so, yeah,
It was
it's just
awesome.
very cool.
Yeah, it was
Um,
such a cool experience.
and great people, I'm sure, all of them on the set.
The best. Yeah, I think any job you work where it's like you're working those kind of long hours and you become really close with your teams. Like I'm still friends with all of them. You become really close with all of them, and obviously we're done with Avatar 3 now. It's pretty up in the. I don't know what's going to happen next, so I'm looking for the next gig now. But I'm still really close with all my friends from Avatar.
That is so fun. And did you happen to say, hey, Jim, you could do a
I
story about cystic fibrosis or
know
a
I should. I
movie?
should. We should have a
Yeah.
character with that. That would be cool. But it's cool. I like like I said, my team's amazing. I remember when I found out that I got diagnosed with CF, they were all so like understanding. Like my boss Dean and my coordinator, my manager Jessica, they were all like super amazing. Whether they were easy to talk to about it, they had no problem with me like going to my doctor's appointments. Because from Torrance where I'm at to Santa Monica, like that could take like all day. Or if I had to go down to Westwood, like they were all super understanding about it. Like there would be days like they're like, hey, you can just go and check on your work when you get back, and they were all so understanding, which I was like obviously so appreciative of. Um, they're the best, and they made that like the diagnosis because it's already stressful enough, but then when you have to deal with work on top of it, because at the end of the day, like Avatar's amazing, but it's still a job, and like I have to like perform. it was so amazing that they were so understanding about it, and didn't have any issues with, the doctor's appointments, every 3 months, or like, medicine, or, when I first started, I had to do the vest, a lot. So, because that was, so he's like, you're just taking time out of my day to make sure my health was good. And they were all so cool about it, and didn't have any issue with it. So I really, like, I'm always going to remember that about them. True family. They do call it the Avatar family, and it really was. Like, we were all so close.
So wonderful that it worked and you educated people and they knew more, and you started with such a small movie and a really, I'm
Yeah.
kidding, because of course,
Little indie film.
right. So, wow, congrats on that. And I'm sure you'll find something great for your next one. I know another thing that you do and have done in the past is you talk about CF a
Mhm.
lot, for the CF Foundation and for others. And why is that important to you as well?
Yeah, I think awareness is super important. I had a really good time. Like, I've done two events. I got to do the CF like symposium at UCLA. So my doctors asked me to do that. So that was just like talking to doctors and nurses about CF that maybe weren't as familiar with it. They weren't in like the pulmonary community or anything. So that was super cool. I really enjoyed that. And then I got to speak at a little bit at the CF. I got like an award for the SoCal's finest. That was through the CF Foundation. So that was super cool. But yeah, I think just like spreading awareness, and like also, a person with CF can like live a normal life. Like, I like to think that my life, with the doctor's appointments, it's not exactly normal, but like if you look at me from the out, like you wouldn't know. And so I think it's really important to show that, like, people with CF, they can play volleyball, they can golf, they can lift weights, they can have work normal jobs, they can do all these things, and like still, like, yeah, yes, they have to deal with all the doctor's appointments and getting poked for blood work and medicine. But I think it's super important to just spread awareness to people that may not know about it. So I really do enjoy, like, doing stuff like this podcast is like super fun for me. So I do enjoy, like, talking about it.
And you're great at it. I mean, you're
Thank you.
obviously so comfortable in your own skin and talking about it. I wonder, either for somebody who's late diagnosis, or even if they were diagnosed at birth, but maybe they're going through a hard time. And
Hmm.
I hear a lot because we offer college scholarships. A lot of people are concerned about going away to college their freshman year. Can they do their medications and have, good time? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, I didn't know I had it in college. I see your cat back there.
She's
Mine's
everywhere.
sleeping too. She's over there. In college, like, obviously I didn't know I had it, but I did still have to take all my medicine. I did still have to, go back to Atlanta every few months to do my liver doctor stuff. I would say, like, for anyone going out to college now that already is diagnosed, like, you can, obviously, your health is like number one importance, but it should not stop you from, joining a club, joining a fraternity, sorority, doing all that stuff, like going out with your friends. It shouldn't deter you from that. And I think, take care of your health, but obviously, like, you should still, like, don't be like, oh, woe is me. Like, I have this disease, my friends don't, because I've been there. Like, I totally, like, feel sorry for myself. Like, especially when I first got diagnosed, or even like with the liver stuff. I'm like, oh, my friends, like, don't have to worry about this, and stuff like that. And I don't think you should feel like that. Obviously, it's hard. Like, it's really hard not to sometimes. And if you do, like, don't feel bad. Like, it's a very valid feeling. But yeah, just, take care of yourself, and explore as many opportunities as you can. Because I think my dad always said it was so important to, like, be busy in college, like, outside of the studies. And that's why I did rowing. That's why I, like, met my friends. We did video game tournaments, all that fun stuff. And it never really stopped me. I felt like, even though I didn't know, but I still had to deal with other stuff. I never really stopped it. I never really let it stop myself. And even today, like, as a 32-year-old, I still am, like, doing all the stuff I want to do, traveling. I went to Japan 2 summers ago, and that was awesome. And I
Just
went
to
to
visit?
Scotland. Yeah, I went for three
Eh,
weeks, and it was a blast. And I was, like, I was about a year into my diagnosis when I went there. So it was still like I was able to manage everything. I talked to my doctors. They gave me all the stuff I needed. So yeah, I think if you're just on top of your health, and you're obviously, as an 18-year-old, it's probably harder to do that because you're you're not as developed. But because at 18, for me, I don't think I would be able to do that. But I think if I was diagnosed with CF, I probably would have been a little bit more, like, aware of it, rather than just like la 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 la. But I think, yeah, as long as you're on top of it, I think it's totally fine. Just explore what you want to explore and do what you want to do.
That is great advice. And then if you want to share this, are you on a CF modulator?
I am, yeah. So I'm on the Trikafta.
Okay.
And I that was a lot of playing with dosages for me. I've been faithful. Like I know mental health is people can struggle with that with CF and Trikafta. I've been really lucky that it really hasn't been too bad for me. Like obviously there are some days where it can be tough. And I couldn't recommend enough like to go to therapy because like that was really helpful for me post diagnosis. It was just really helpful to talk through it with somebody. So I think if you're feeling mental health issues, 100%, you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to somebody. But the Trikafta was always interesting because you had to go back and forth with like the liver stuff because for me, my liver enzymes were already high, and Trikafta could potentially affect that. So it was a lot of talking with my liver doctor and my CF team. Just getting constant blood work, making sure nothing was changing, and thankfully nothing did change. My liver's really stable. I just had an appointment the other week, and my doctor walked in. He was like, "You're like the healthiest person I've seen all day." So it's like such a
Oh,
good
that's
feeling to hear
awesome.
that. And the Trikafta again, like we played with dosage a lot. I'm on the two pills a day now. So we're just doing one pill, and then we did one every other day, or one two one two. And now I'm just on straight two pills just to help with the sinus issues. And it's been great. Like I've been able to breathe better. I don't feel like I'm coughing much anymore. Obviously, I've gained weight, which has been really helpful. It's just been such a life changing medication for me, along with the enzymes that I'm super happy that because it's relatively new. I think it's 2020 it came out or 2019. So
2019.
yeah,
Yeah.
2019. So it's I'm super lucky that like now and I'm so happy because my mom teaches kindergarten. Two of her kids actually have CF in separate classes.
Wow.
So they're twins actually. I think they're related, but uh, she's been able to talk to them about it. Obviously, what she's gone through, and I'm super thankful that kids now like they kind of grow up with this. So
Right.
that's great, and it's been so life changing for me.
It's amazing that
Hmm.
now if you're born with CF, your mom can either take it while you're in vitro or you just, you start young with it. So that is interesting. And I just wanted to back up to mental health. Did your parents suggest mental health or were you just like, hey, I need this?
It was totally me. I think their generation doesn't really like default to that. But they were still like very supportive of it. It was really helpful. It was just something I looked up and I did it twice. I did it once before I had CF and then or before I was diagnosed and then after and same therapist. And it was just like, it was great to work on different things post diagnosis. And she always said, like my therapist always said, like you can graduate therapy, but like if you ever need to come back, you can come back. So it's always good to have that door open if I need to. But she was great, and it really helped me talk through some things. And I couldn't recommend it enough if people are struggling.
That is amazing, and it's also so funny, because I am your parents' generation, but
Yeah.
but I will say that while I took my girls and had them in therapy when they were younger and totally am 1,000,000% for therapy, you're so right that I think sometimes we think our kids with CF need therapy, and then as adults, we're like, we're fine, we're in charge of it
Yeah.
all.
Oh yeah,
Um, and I highly recommend therapy for parents as well
definitely.
because it's so important.
Yes.
And as we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you've been on this CF path that you think's really important or exciting to share with people?
Yeah, I think the fact that like I said before is like you may be diagnosed with it, but it shouldn't like change like your life's going to change, but it shouldn't like change it for the worse. Like yes, you're going to be doing doctor's appointments. Yes, there's some uncertainty involved, but I think it's so important just to like live your life the way you want to live it. And I'm just so thankful I have that opportunity out here in Southern California with exercise and Avatar was amazing. Yeah, I think you just got to live it. I think it's so important to keep doing what you're doing. You can't, sulk in it all day because life's going to move on. So that's just it's hard. As I said, it's very valid. If you have days that you feel horrible, that's fine. But I think it's just so important in the big picture to keep moving and do your thing. Prioritize your health, but also your friends. Like don't ignore your friends, your family. it's so important to have them in your corner. And like without them, I think I'd be in trouble because they're like super, super great, and they're super able to like help me when I'm down, and just like doing stuff with them is so important to me.
Well, I think you're fantastic, and I know because everyone has down days, but boy, you come across fantastic, and
Thank you.
and I'm sure you're inspiring people who are listening to this, and that you've helped them in many different ways, from maybe their career to just being optimistic and therapy and so many different things that you talked about. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
yeah, I think you're incredible. And I
Thank
think
you.
you're definitely an inspiration just in this short time that we've talked. Yeah, keep on talking.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for all the financial support. Has been amazing. So it is hard out here, so especially in California. So I really do appreciate everything you guys do and for doing for the whole community.
Well, we're happy to do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrating, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org.
This podcast was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.